let's unpack this. May Day, right? That vibrant celebration marking the arrival of spring.
Oh, yeah, definitely. The maypole, the ribbons.
Exactly. The dancing, that feeling of, renewal and joy. It feels so ancient, almost like it's baked into our collective memory.
Passed down through generations, absolutely.
But what if one of the most common explanations we always hear for its origins specifically, that the maypole is just a giant primitive phallic symbol? What if that's not just like an oversimplification?
You mean what if it's actually wrong? Or even worse?
Yeah, what if it's a deliberate misinterpretation, one that's kind of obscured a much richer, more profound, and, well, incredibly ancient truth?
That's a really fascinating angle because, for far too long, that very simple, sometimes even derisive explanation has just been widely accepted.
Right, it just gets repeated.
And it inadvertently overshadows this profound depth of meaning that was always there, just sort of waiting to be rediscovered.
That's exactly it. We've had this rather simplistic, almost reductionist narrative for ages. But our mission today on the Deep Dive is to literally reclaim the real, complex, and honestly beautiful story behind May Day and the maypole.
Oh, we've got quite the toolkit for this, a fantastic stack of sources.
We really do. We're pulling knowledge from cutting-edge archaeological reports, stuff that's unearthing hidden truths. We've got ancient sagas singing of cosmic power and deep wisdom.
Not to mention those meticulous historical accounts from Roman writers like Tacitus and Caesar, people who actually saw these practices firsthand.
Yeah, their observations are key. Plus, linguistic studies tracing the roots of the words themselves, and even foundational texts like the Rig Veda. It's a really wide net.
So the goal is to challenge those long-held assumptions head-on. We want to peel back the layers of misinterpretation.
And reveal this profound, often overlooked connection these spring celebrations have to ancient female spiritual power.
Right. And to the very concept of fate, destiny, and the fundamental act of creation itself. It's a story woven with threads far more intricate than I think most people realize.
And for you listening, prepare for some serious aha moments. We're going to connect seemingly disparate threads, things like mysterious staffs found in Viking Age burials,
all the way to cosmic goddesses who literally weave the fabric of reality.
Exactly. And even the subtle details of ancient calendars. We want to paint a vibrant, compelling picture of what this spring celebration truly meant to our ancestors.
And maybe, even more importantly, what this rediscovered meaning can signify for you today, giving new depth, perhaps, to a tradition you thought you already knew.
Okay, so where do we start digging?
Let's begin with some really incredible archaeological revelations. These finds truly began to shift our understanding of ancient female power, especially in Norse contexts.
Ah, the staffs. I remember reading about those.
Exactly. For centuries, archaeologists were unearthing these intriguing metal staffs from high-status Norse female burials.
High status. So these weren't just average graves.
No, definitely not. These women were clearly important, suggesting the objects themselves, and the women buried with them held a very special, elevated role in their societies.
But for the longest time, the interpretations were, frankly, pretty mundane, weren't they? Almost dismissive.
That's putting it mildly. Many scholars just assumed they were utilitarian items. Things like crude meat-roasting spits.
Spits, seriously. Or measuring sticks for textiles, I think I read.
Yes, exactly. Can you imagine reducing these potentially significant artifacts found with powerful women to something so utterly prosaic, so domestic?
It's quite striking when you look back at that academic blind spot. Why did they miss it for so long?
Well, the sources we looked at highlight how researchers were often, and this is a quote, blinded by post-modernity or old Christianity-centered worldviews.
Ah, so they were looking through a specific lens.
Precisely. Applying modern or Christian assumptions about women's roles or about pagan practices in general to these ancient pagan artifacts, it distorted their perception.
They couldn't see them for what they were, only what their framework allowed.
It's a powerful lesson in how our own perspectives can shape or even obscure our understanding of the past.
And these sort of utilitarian interpretations, they didn't really hold up to scrutiny, did they?
No, they quickly became unsustainable as more evidence emerged. I mean, physically, the staffs were just too thick and heavy to effectively skewer meat for roasting.
Right, and didn't they have features that made that impossible anyway?
Exactly. They had these distinct knobs and other protrusions. You just couldn't rotate meat on them evenly. It simply didn't fit the physical evidence.
So, not kitchen tools. What else pointed away from that?
Well, beyond just being impractical as spits, they shared common adornments. things that unmistakably spoke to a deeper symbolic meaning.
Like those animal heads.
Yes. Many featured these distinctive gaping animal heads, a recurring motif found on staffs from major sites like Clinta, Gavel, and especially the famous Burka grave, BJ 660.
That doesn't sound like decoration for a cooking implement.
Not at all. It points to something far more ritualistic, maybe totemic, imbued with powerful spiritual significance.
Okay, so if they weren't meat spits or measuring sticks, what were they? When did the understanding shift?
The real turning point came in the 1990s. This was thanks to what our sources call new scholarship by Anne Stein-Ingstad and other female archaeologists.
Ah, crucial shift in perspective. What was different about their approach?
Well, this new wave of research brought a fresh lens. These female archaeologists were often less constrained by, let's say, the traditional, often male-dominated interpretations of the past.
So they asked different questions.
They could approach the artifacts with a different set of questions, perhaps unburdened by some of the entrenched biases that had just automatically categorized such objects as domestic.
And that led to?
That allowed for a wider recognition that these staffs related directly to the Völur, that's the Old Norse term, for a female seeress or prophetess, and the Syestar.
The magic staffs used in Sire.
Exactly, that potent, complex form of Norse magic. This was the breakthrough. It finally connected the tangible archaeological record to the rich tapestry of Norse mythology and historical accounts,
Giving these objects, and the women buried with them, a profound spiritual context.
Yeah.
Finally.
Yes, it wasn't just a tool, it was an emblem of power.
And the sagas themselves, they back this up, don't they? With descriptions.
Incredibly vivid descriptions. Take the Völva Horbjörg from Eirik's Saga Rauer, Eric the Red's saga. She travels with her entourage, her implements.
And her staff is described.
Very explicitly. Quote, "A staff she had in her hand with a knob thereon. It was ornamented with brass and inlaid with gems round about the knob."
Wow, that's specific. The knob, the brass, the gems.
It aligns remarkably well with the archaeological finds. This kind of precise textual corroboration leaves very little doubt about their true identity as powerful ritual objects, absolutely fundamental to the Völva's practice.
So we've got these mysterious staffs, now identified as Saya staff. But you mentioned there's more, drilling down into a specific design detail. This is where it gets really interesting.
It really does. What's truly fascinating is that many of these surviving iron staffs, and iron is crucial because wood decays, right? So these metal ones are invaluable clues.
They lasted.
They share a very particular design feature. Near the top, the rod separates into 4 or more bars that curve out around an enclosed space and then rejoin at a knob near the top.
Okay, I can picture that, like a little cage or basket shape.
Exactly. But Western researchers initially and inaccurately struggled with this. They called them baskets, expanded handles, or open work devices. They just didn't have a good frame of reference.
But in traditional ironworking, that shape has a name, right?
It does. In traditional wrought iron craft, these are called baluster spindles or baskets. It's a recognized ancient feature in metalwork. It suggests it wasn't just aesthetic, it was a deliberate design carrying specific meaning.
And this is where the blindness of some Western researchers becomes really clear.
Yes. While American and Western European academics were kind of scratching their heads, those free of such blinders, and crucially, traditionalist populations in places like Finland, Poland, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia.
People who still retain the old ways.
Exactly. They easily identified these features. They recognized them immediately as being modeled upon and belonging to the distaff.
The distaff, the tool for spinning thread.
Yes, which highlights the huge importance of cultural continuity and indigenous knowledge in understanding these artifacts. These communities, unlike many in the West who'd lost touch, still understood the profound symbolism.
And the distaff wasn't just a tool, was it? For millennia, it was this potent symbol of women's domain and industry, deeply linked to creating thread, textiles, a core feminine craft.
Absolutely central. And you see this design feature echoed elsewhere in Europe, too. The French call this shape a linen distaff, the English a birdcage distaff. This widespread recognition was a huge shift in understanding the staff's real purpose.
And the word itself, distaff.
The etymology just nails it. Distaff, from Old English distaff, literally means lady's staff or maiden's wand.
Wow. It's right there in the language.
It signals an ancient inherent connection between this tool and female identity, female power.
So when you see this recurring intentional detail in these staff, like the Swedish ones from Gävle Närke or the Norwegian ones from Kaupang, Michael Bostad making them look like a distaff.
It carries immense symbolic weight. Our sources state this intentional design indicates that sire and the wand bearers that perform such are explicitly and symbolically a female province and domain.
It firmly grounds this powerful spiritual practice tied to causality and destiny within the female sphere.
And the broader meaning here is just crucial. The symbolism emphasizes a connection between spinning, sire, and causation.
Spinning thread becomes a metaphor for shaping reality itself.
Think about the power in that image, the everyday act of spinning, central to life, creating clothing, shelter. It wasn't just practical, it was a metaphor for weaving possibilities, weaving destinies.
It reorients how we see their magic. Not just spells, but actively engaging with the forces that design fate.
And it also evokes, as the sources say, a wider European pattern of distaff-bearing goddesses and threefold fates or female ancestors. It plugs into this deep pan-European current of powerful fate-weaving feminine figures.
Okay, so we have the staffs, the distaff connection, the link to female power. Let's zoom in on the women who wielded them. The Völva, these seeresses, prophetesses.
Yeah.
They held immense societal power, didn't they?
Immense. We're talking about figures who influenced kings, shaped tribal destinies, were consulted on war and peace, real power players.
Like Völva. She sounds incredible.
Absolutely. Völva was a phenomenally powerful Germanic seeress from the Bructeri tribe, active during that Batavi revolt against Rome, 6970 CE.
And she wasn't just like a mystic.
Far from it. She was worshipped as a divinity, lived in a tower near the Lippe River, wielded considerable power, real political influence. Critically, she even accurately predicted early Roman defeats.
That must have terrified the Romans.
And hugely encouraged her own people. The Romans, including meticulous historians like Tacitus and Caesar, were very aware of these seeresses. They studied their role.
They recognized their influence in battles, negotiations.
Yes. Tacitus described Völva as an unmarried woman who enjoyed wide influence, treated with reverence. This wasn't some fringe thing the Romans dismissed. It was a respected, powerful institution they observed, maybe with a mix of awe and trepidation.
And her influence was tangible, real-world impact.
Demonstrably real. Völva's negotiating skills mediated a major conflict between the rebellious Batavi and the Roman settlement of Colonia Claudia era Agrippinensium. She helped bring resolution.
Wow. And even after she was captured.
Even then, her high status was acknowledged. The Romans notably did not parade her in triumph through Rome like they would a captured king. That's a clear sign of respect for her unique power. Even the mighty Roman Empire felt compelled to acknowledge it.
And Völva wasn't alone. There were others across the Germanic world.
Many others. Our sources mention Algroa. Her name might suggest links to elves or magic. Ghana, who succeeded Völva. Waliburg, a Simnonian seeress who even served in Roman Egypt.
Roman Egypt, that's incredible range.
It shows how far their influence could potentially reach. Then there's Horbjörg Little Völva in Norse Greenland, whose depiction in the sagas is so key. And from Iceland, Hurriar Sundafillir, known for her amazing fish magic.
Fish magic, like she could actually bring fish.
Apparently fill fjords with fish during famine, showing a deep connection to nature's abundance, and of course the goddess Freya herself.
The divine archetype.
Known as the foremost practitioner of seer, the divine model for the Völva, linking these mortal women directly to the divine feminine source of this magic. They were undeniable pillars of spiritual and societal authority.
And the archaeology backs this up. The grave sites.
Absolutely. Graves believed to belong to Scandinavian seeresses are just full of fascinating artifacts that clearly set them apart.
Not just the staffs.
Not just the wands, the sai staff. They also contain seeds with hallucinogenic and aphrodisiac properties, pointing to altered states, ritual preparations. Plus, other items implying exceptionally high status, not just wealth, but spiritual authority.
Is there one grave that really stands out?
The Furkat grave in Denmark gives us this incredibly vivid glimpse. A woman buried in a horse-drawn carriage that alone signals immense status.
Right, that's like a chariot burial almost.
And she wore a red and blue dress with gold thread, incredibly luxurious for the time, elite standing. She had silver toe rings, which were previously unknown in Scandinavian archaeology.
Neat. Maybe foreign connections.
Possibly. And she held 2 bronze bowls originating from Central Asia, pointing to vast trade networks, maybe a cosmopolitan life, or far-reaching spiritual influence. These aren't the possessions of just anyone.
But the really telling detail.
The most fascinating detail illuminating her role as a seeress was a small purse containing henbane plant seeds.
Henbane, that's potent stuff.
Very. When the seeds were thrown into a fire, they'd produce a mildly hallucinogenic smoke. Our sources note this plant was later used by witches to produce psychedelic effects. Suggests a continuity of practice.
So, likely used for trance states, for prophecy.
Very likely. For inducing the states needed for seer, and crucially, the grave also contained a partially disintegrated metal distaff.
The distaff, the direct link, cementing her connection to the vulva and the sacred feminine.
Exactly. This archaeological evidence, combined with accounts from people like Tacitus, powerfully reinforces his observation that the Germans believed there was something divine in the prophecies of women.
Which led to them occupying this special space.
A special space in Germanic life and politics treated with special respect. Their influence wasn't just spiritual, it was deeply embedded in the social, political, even military fabric, guiding decisions at the highest levels.
And their insights weren't just for, personal guidance. They influenced powerful men, empires.
Directly. Cassius Dio tells that chilling story about a Cheruscan woman foretelling the death of the Roman general Nero Claudius Drusus.
And he died soon after.
Fell from his horse, lending immense, maybe superstitious weight to her powers. Demonstrates the real fear these predictions could instill.
And military strategy, too.
Right.
Caesar and Ariovistus.
Right. Julius Caesar observed the Suebic ruler Ariovistus being weirdly reluctant to fight in 58 BC. He learned from prisoners it was because the Germanic Seeresses had to predict victory first through divination.
A powerful warrior refusing battle because the signs weren't right.
Ariovistus wouldn't fight before the new moon due to inauspicious signs from his Seeresses. It shows the profound impact these women had on strategic military decisions, even facing Rome.
Even emperors listened. Vitellius.
Yes, Suetonius records Emperor Vitellius trusting a chatty soothsayer's prediction he'd reign long if he outlived his mother.
That's sinister. Did it lead to it?
Well, the implication is it might have influenced his actions toward his mother. Whether true or not, it highlights the terrifying level of influence these Seeresses could command, even over Roman emperors.
What's absolutely fascinating here is these weren't just marginal figures, not just mystics. They had real, tangible political and military influence.
Shaping decisions of the most powerful leaders of their time, tribal chiefs, Roman emperors. They were integral to how their societies functioned, guiding both spiritual and worldly affairs.
Okay, building on that profound understanding of these powerful women, let's go even bigger, to the cosmic level.
Yeah.
The Norns and the web of word.
Yes. Within Old Norse religion, the actual physical act of weaving and spinning thread for textiles was seen as analogous to the creation of word destiny by supernatural female figures.
Oh, the distaff symbolism we talked about, it expands from a physical tool to a cosmic principle here.
Exactly. It scales up massively.
And the Norns are the ultimate cosmic weavers, right?
Yeah.
The architects of destiny.
The supreme architects. These three powerful female beings, Aurora, Arandi, and Skuld, often interpreted as past, present, future, but their roles are probably more dynamic than just linear time.
And they dwell at the well of Urar, beneath Yggdrasil, the world tree.
Right at the heart of the cosmos, connecting all the realms, and their primary and most crucial role is to spin, weave, and cut the threads of fate for all beings.
Gods, humans, elves, dwarfs, even the world tree itself.
Everything. They determine the very fabric of existence, the unfolding of all events. Imagine that power designing reality.
The sagas must have incredible imagery for this.
Oh, absolutely beautiful and sometimes terrifying illustrations. In the Eddaic poem Helgakvi the Hundingsbana First, the Norns appear at night to spin the word, the destiny of the infant hero Helgi.
They literally weave his future.
They compel blessings of great fortune, spinning cosmic strands from Orleg into fortune and fate. Orleg being that sort of primordial layer of underlying destiny or potential.
And this is the web of weird.
Exactly. A complex, interconnected tapestry of cause, effect, choice, consequence, shaping every single life.
And it wasn't only the Norns weaving destiny, Valkyries too.
Yes, the poem Dar Arlju from Njál's saga describes a really chilling scene. Valkyries supernaturally weaving the weird of those fated to die in battle.
Ow. What do they use?
They use human intestines as warp and weft, severed heads as loom weights, creating this terrifying loom of war.
Good grief. That's graphic.
It's a vivid, brutal image of divine female figures directly determining the course of war, and individual lives on a grand scale. Even in Völundar Vida, another poem, 3 Valkyrie sisters are shown spinning linen by a lake.
Just spinning linen.
Seemingly simple, but it appears to signal a strong word association, setting the stage for the poem's fateful endings. The act of spinning itself, even seemingly mundane, carries profound symbolic weight. It links them to destiny.
And this isn't just in texts, there's art too.
Yes, the Franks casket, that amazing 8th century Anglo-Saxon ivory chest. It depicts scenes from Völundar Vida. One panel, the Bargello panel, shows 3 figures who appear to be spinning.
Likely the Norns or Valkyries?
Given the context, it strongly suggests their influence in this well-known Germanic story. It solidifies the visual representation of fate weaving.
And these supernatural women, the weavers of weird, they have deep roots, older than the sagas.
They appear to have a deep history in the ancient Germanic corpus, a lineage stretching back much further. Scholars often connect them to goddess-like figures on shrines in Roman-occupied Germanic areas.
What do those shrines show?
Often depictions of 3 figures with a variety of items, such as diapers and fruit, indicating a deep, persistent veneration of a powerful female triad linked to fertility, birth, the shaping of life, goes back millennia.
And this veneration continued into historical times.
Definitely. Evidenced by customs like Mother's Night, Mudra Night, attested by Bede in Anglo-Saxon England. It's undoubtedly related to the Old Norse Diseblat sacrifices to the Disir, those female spirits linked to fate and fertility, and the Swedish Disentangling assembly.
And this symbolism is still around in modern heathen circles.
Yes, in recent decades, the powerful symbolism has become prominent again, associated with threads handled by the above-discussed groups of supernatural female figures associated with birth and death, recognizing their timeless power over life's major transitions.
So connecting this back, the Völva, the human seeress, she's like a reflection of the Norns.
A human reflection or agent of the Norns' work, absolutely. Her ability to see destiny, maybe even influence it, echoes their ultimate cosmic power.
She taps into the threads they weave.
Acts as a conduit between the human realm and the cosmic order. It makes her role even more profound, a bridge between the mundane and the magical.
Okay, so we've established this pervasive feminine power, the Völva, the Norns, the connection to spinning, destiny. Now let's bring it all back to May-Day itself. This is where the Maypole's real meaning starts to emerge, isn't it? Beyond those simplistic ideas.
Exactly. And a really insightful place to start is the name of the month itself, May.
Named after the Roman goddess Maya.
Right. And her name comes from a Proto-Indo-European root, meaning great or large, like magnum, magnify. She was revered as a goddess of growth, increase, and fertility.
So the month itself is grounded in this powerful, ancient feminine principle of abundance, generation, blossoming life.
Right from the start. And the linguistic insight goes even deeper. The ancient name May is also fascinatingly cognate with the word maiden-maid.
Maiden. How so?
It tested in Middle English as mai, or mage, descended from Proto-Germanic baga, and both ancient Greeks and Romans called this period Maya, linking it explicitly to young women, youth, new beginnings.
So etymologically, the month was anciently associated with young women, and likely also with a youthful female deity, embodying that vibrant, generative, feminine power of springtime.
Which leads us right back to the maypole itself, interpreted not as some crude symbol, but as the grand distaff.
Okay, so while visually, yes, it can look phallic to some.
The compelling and deeply supported interpretation of it as a distaff offers this profound, powerful feminine alternative. And it's far more historically, symbolically, and culturally resonant with all the evidence we just discussed.
That symbolic connection is really striking. The maypole, especially with the ribbons.
It strongly evokes the distaff. Imagine a tall central staff, the distaff with its threads, the ribbons unfurling from the top.
Symbolizing the spinning of life, fate weaving destiny.
So the maypole becomes this giant communal distaff at the center of the community, embodying the generative feminine power that literally spins life into being each spring, bringing new growth, prosperity. The ribbons aren't just decoration, they are the threads of life being woven.
And the maypole dance itself, it's more than just a celebration.
Far more. It's an allegorical representation of that important women's work of spinning thread for the weaving of textiles, a central, vital act in ancient societies.
So each dancer holding a ribbon attached to the top.
Attached to the finial of the distaff, the maypole, weaving in and out, performing this beautiful, complex dance. It's a celebration of their holy seeress and her influence upon the good fortune and weaving of free among her respective peoples.
Refers that concept of peace, well-being, social harmony.
A collective flourishing ensured through the benevolent influence of these powerful feminine figures. The dance is literally a communal act of creating and celebrating collective well-being and destiny.
And it echoes the Norns in Dizzer, too, the cosmic weaving.
Yes, it has those esoteric connections. The Maypole dance isn't just a dance, it's a living, moving representation of cosmic weaving, a ritualized participation in the very act of creation and destiny-making, connecting the human scale to the cosmic.
Plus, you have the May Queen tradition.
A human embodiment of spring's feminine vitality, crowned with flowers, symbolizing nature blossoming. The adornments, fresh flowers, bright ribbons, the communal circular dance, it all reinforces the nurturing abundance of nature and the life-giving power of the sacred feminine. Every element points there.
And the timing, May Day itself, wasn't arbitrary, was it? The seasonal significance.
Not at all. Our ancient ancestors, Celtic, Germanic, Scandinavian, Baltic peoples, generally considered this time the beginning of summer.
A crucial distinction because they only recognized two main seasons, summer and winter.
Right. Their agricultural and spiritual cycles revolved around those two halves. This makes May Day, falling midway between spring equinox and summer solstice, a pivotal turning point, the true start of the fertile half of the year.
And they used a specific calendar.
They followed a metonic calendar cycle, a sophisticated lunisolar system, based on lunar months and the 4 key solar events, solstices, and equinoxes.
And May 1st was explicitly
designated summer finding, or the first day of summer. Not arbitrary. A carefully calculated midpoint signaling the full transition into the productive, fertile season, deeply integrated into their lives, the moment the earth was fully awake.
Okay, so we have this deep-rooted, feminine-centric celebration. How did it interact with Christianity as it spread? The church couldn't just erase these traditions, could they?
No, that would have been nearly impossible. They were too deeply ingrained in daily life, in community. So instead, the church often transformed them, overlaid them with new meanings, subtly shifted their focus. Syncretism.
And Walpurgisnacht is a prime example. May Eve.
Absolutely. April 30th. This was a crucial time for pre-Christian pagan spring festivals across Germanic and other European cultures. Big bonfires, rituals to banish winter, ward off bad spirits, usher in fertility. Powerful, primal stuff.
And in those older traditions, spiritual authority rested with figures like the Völva.
Very much so. Tied to the land, its cycles. Walpurga, whose name itself means staff fortress. How evocative is that?
Staff fortress.
Yeah. She perfectly embodies this pre-Christian, Völva-like spiritual figure, widely renowned, even deified among Germanic tribes, worked for Romans in Egypt. A powerful, respected female figure of immense spiritual authority. Deeply connected.
So how did the church handle figures like her and celebrations like May Eve?
Well, rather than outright abolishing customs that had existed for centuries, which would have caused huge social upheaval, the church often adopted a strategy of appropriating or reframing existing pagan festivals.
A pragmatic move?
Yeah.
To ease conversion.
Highly effective, making the new faith seem less alien, more connected to existing cultural rhythms, spiritual seasons, absorbing rather than destroying.
And this led to the replacement. St. Walpurga.
Exactly. St. Walpurga, an 8th century Anglo-Saxon missionary nun, conveniently her feast day was set on May 1st. So by naming May Eve Walpurgisnacht, Walpurgis Night, the church placed a Christian veneer over this deeply significant pagan observance.
Not eradication, but rebranding. Shifting the spiritual guardianship of the night.
It was a profound symbolic replacement. The powerful, wild, often feared, and earth-connected spiritual authority of the Völva, like Walpurga, revered for her connection to ancient magic and prophecy.
Was eclipsed by the Christian saint.
Right. St. Walpurga represented something different. Monasticism, asceticism, established doctrine, healing through faith, not earth-bound magic. A deliberate shift from indigenous, decentralized, often female-led spiritual power to a more hierarchical, male-dominated, formalized power under the church.
So Walpurgisnacht, named for the saint, really symbolizes that historical shift, where ancient traditions were integrated or superseded by Christianity.
A clear, powerful example of syncretism. The old isn't entirely destroyed, but reshaped, reinterpreted by the new dominant force.
But despite these efforts, The pagan beliefs didn't just disappear overnight.
Not at all. They were too deep. They persisted for centuries, especially in rural areas, mixing with Christian practices in a complex form of syncretism. Many traditional practices continued, just maybe with a new Christian explanation or a shift in meaning.
Like the bonfires on May Eve, originally Maiden's Eve.
Prime example. Those fires were based in part upon the ancient hopes that the seeress Völva might return to her people. They yearned for her return, the spiritual protection she offered. They lit the fires, waiting.
But she never came back.
Sadly, no. Sources say she died and was interred in Egypt. But the bonfire tradition continued, transformed. King Clovis of the Franks, around 510 CE, explained the Alemanni bonfires as being in hopes of the return of their witch.
Witch. There's the degradation.
Doubtless part of the then emerging Roman Church program to degrade and supplant the native faith deities and traditions. A deliberate effort to diminish the spiritual power of these indigenous figures.
And this degradation continued, morphing into the witchcraft narrative.
Yes. Walpurgisnacht became commonly explained as a night for the gathering of witches, a dark, malevolent inversion of its original meaning, even degenerating centuries later during the witch hunts into bonfires for the burning of witches.
Tragic how powerful narratives can be distorted and weaponized.
Starkly tragic. Yet, despite this conscious effort to demonize and suppress, the Maypole's persistent symbolism, with its strong feminine connotations of weaving, life, and the distaff, continued to echo the deep, pre-Christian reverence for female spiritual power that the Völva represented.
The underlying symbolism endured, like a memory etched into the tradition itself.
Subtly resisting complete erasure, even as the surface story changed.
What's truly remarkable and really underscores the ancient roots here is that these traditions aren't just, Germanic or Norse. They're everywhere in Europe, right?
Absolutely widespread. The celebration of May 1st and May Eve spans cultures as diverse as Welsh, English, Scots, Irish, Germans, Poles, Czechs, Slovakians, Slovenians, Serbians, Croatians, Romanians, Bulgarians.
Keep going.
Dutch, Belgians, Norwegians, Swedes, Finns, Danes, Latvians, Estonians, Lithuanians, Hungarians, Ukrainians, Russians. It's genuinely pan-European, indicating a shared, incredibly deep-seated cultural impulse.
And across all these different cultures, there are remarkably similar rituals.
Common threads, usually starting May Eve, April 30th, with bonfires on fields and hills lasting till morning. Then a tree trimmed into a pole, or a prepared maypole, is erected by the men. Noon brings festivities, culminating in that famous maypole dance, often with ribbons.
And the themes are universal too, welcoming spring, fertility, warding off evil, celebrating renewal.
Universally, those themes. And consistently, despite unique local flavors, you find elements that resonate with the feminine symbolism we've discussed. Emphasis on growth from the earth, prominent role of women, underlying themes of creation, nurturing, weaving, communal well-being.
Can we look at a few specific examples, just to see the range?
Definitely. In the Celtic nations, Ireland and Scotland, you have Beltane on May 1st, primarily a fire festival, huge bonfires for purification, protecting livestock, ensuring fertility.
But not just fire.
No, while fire is central, it also incorporates maypole dancing, flower crowns, the May Queen, clearly linking to feminine vitality, fertility, natural flourishing, a holistic celebration of renewal.
Okay, what about Greece?
Protomagia, May 1st. Deep roots in ancient festivals for Maya, goddess of growth, and Demeter. Agriculture, fertility, main tradition. Beautiful wildflower wreaths hung on doors, symbolizing prosperity.
Welcoming spring visually.
Exactly. They're typically burned later on St. John's Eve in June, continuing the seasonal cycle, directly linked to powerful goddesses of fertility.
Bulgaria.
Ermindin, May 1st. Unique beliefs about snakes emerging, bringing potential danger, but also promise of bounty. Focuses on avoiding malevolent forces, ensuring agricultural well-being, often through rituals involving young women or girls, implicitly suggests feminine divine associations with Earth's fertility and nurturing life, more protective, appeasing.
And slightly earlier, Ostara.
Around the spring equinox, March 20th, 21st, many paganeo-pagan traditions celebrate Ostara, named after the Germanic goddess Eostriostara, spring, dawn, fertility, symbols like eggs and hares representing new life, fertility. Another clear, strong example of the feminine principle tied to spring's awakening, predating Christian Easter. Armandeni, May 1st, central symbol, The green branch or small tree, often birch or willow adorned with flowers, placed at gates or on rooftops, signifies new life, vitality, fertility, abundance. Also wards off evil, brings good fortune, deep pre-Christian origins, perfectly aligning with welcoming life, invoking protective feminine energies.
And Wales.
Calan May.
Calan May. No Calan May Eve has big bonfires for purification, warding off spirits like Beltane maypoles, Bedouin Fae, May birch were integral, dancing around them symbolizing the weaving of life and community, just as we discussed. And collecting May dew for beauty and health, embracing nature's regenerative gifts.
The similarities across all these diverse cultures are just remarkable. It really points to something older, doesn't it?
It strongly suggests a much more ancient common source, very likely rooted in Proto-Indo-European PIE culture.
Right.
This isn't just coincidence. It points to a shared ancestral heritage, a common spiritual substrate that's evolved but kept core elements for millennia.
And the shared themes support this: fertility, renewal, protection, life-giving rituals. These are fundamental concerns for early agrarian societies, precisely characteristic of presumed Indo-European cultures. They didn't just pop up independently. They sprang from a common worldview, common needs.
And the linguistic and mythological links, the goddesses.
They really seal it. Goddesses of fertility like Freya, Norse Germanic, Flora, Roman, Maya, Greek Roman, all point to a likely PIE predecessor, a primordial, divine, feminine figure connected to growth and abundance.
And the Völva, the fate weaving, that connects back too.
Definitely. The etymology of siar, to bind, string, ties directly into the concept of weaving fate, and the Norns have clear cognates elsewhere. The Moirai, fates in Greek myth, the Parse in Roman, always female triadic figures who control destiny through weaving or spinning.
That archetype is just so pervasive.
It's a very strong indicator of a shared PIE archetype, deep in the collective spiritual consciousness of these cultures.
So putting it all together, these traditions offer this fascinating glimpse into the very ancient spiritual heritage of much of Europe,
revealing a deep, shared cultural layer predating national identities, recognized religions, connecting us to a primordial past where the sacred feminine played a central, powerful role.
Okay, now let's tackle that pervasive yet unfounded claim head-on. The maypole as just a primitive phallic symbol. Our research, pulling from all this, makes an extremely strong case against it, doesn't it?
Undeniable, I'd say. And it's crucial to know where that claim even came from.
Where did it originate?
From the early Roman Church. It was meant to be derisive of the popular folk cultural celebration that survived conversion. It was strategic negative framing.
Deliberately discrediting, sexualizing a pre-Christian pagan tradition to make it seem crude, less spiritual, facilitate conversion.
That seems to be the strategy. And unfortunately, this phallic claim has not been sufficiently challenged by academia. Instead, it has been erroneously recited by many ethnographic researchers for generations.
Like it's historical truth, just repeated without critical reevaluation.
A classic example of misinformation persisting through repetition. It's almost funny how a simple derogatory theory, maybe cooked up to discredit a pagan festival, ends up being taken seriously by academics centuries later. Shows how sticky a bad idea can be if it fits a convenient narrative.
Who helped popularize this idea?
Figures like the Puritan philosopher Thomas Hobbes, who wrongly thought maypoles came from Roman worship of Priapus. Even Sigmund Freud, not a historian, supported and spread the notion, fitting his theories.
And wasn't it in some questionable literature, too?
Yes, quite notably popularized in English prose pornography by John Cleland in his erotic novel Fanny Hill. Hardly rigorous academic or historical source material for such a widespread claim.
But actual historians of folklore, they disagree.
Completely. Professor Ronald Hutton, University of Bristol, states clearly there is no historical basis for this claim and no sign that the people who used maypoles thought that they were phallic and they were not carved to appear so. He dismantles it as an imposition, not inherent meaning.
I can personally relate. I was told that assertion about the maypole being a phallus as a kid, and it never felt right. Seemed suspicious, out of place with the joy of it all. Decades later, heard a teacher repeating it about the maypole dance, and just thought, that doesn't sit well as an origin story.
And now we know why that gut feeling might have been right.
The counter-arguments from PIE cosmology are strong too, challenging the phallic theory at its roots.
Incredibly robust. While PIE pantheons had powerful male gods like the Sky Father, reconstructions consistently show an equally, if not more, fundamental female principle. the Earth Mother, Diemja Mimera, primordial source of all life.
And creation wasn't just a male act, it was a union.
A sacred union between the Sky Father and the Earth Mother, a cosmic dance. The Sky Father brings rain, but the Earth Mother receives it, becomes pregnant with potential, brings forth all life from her fertile womb.
Giving immense active power to the feminine principle, central to creation and sustenance.
Absolutely. And beyond the Earth Mother, you have the Dawn Goddess, H.E.I.F, signifying renewal, light, another powerful female figure. And as we discussed, the widespread female fate deities, Norns, Moirai, Parse, weaving destiny, underscoring the deep-rooted, active, multifaceted role of the feminine.
So given that cosmology, it seems highly improbable that a major fertility celebration like May Day would focus solely or primarily on a masculine generative principle. Phallic symbolism.
The evidence just points elsewhere. The Maypole is more accurately an axis mundi, the cosmic axis, steeped in the symbolism of the fertile Earth Mother and the female weavers of life. A far richer, more balanced view.
And there's crucial textual evidence, too, from the Rig Veda.
Yes, perhaps the most direct refutation. The Rig Veda, a foundational Indo-European text from ancient India, sharing common roots with European traditions. Rig Veda 7.21.5 and 10.99.3 contain verses expressing explicit repulsion towards phallus worshippers Shinudeva.
Repulsion. The text actually says that.
Unambiguous disdain. Quote, "Let our true gods subdue the hostile rabble. Let not the lewd Shishnadeva approach our holy worship. It's a clear condemnation, seen as foreign, impure."
So this clearly indicates that the Vedic Aryans, a major Indo-European branch, viewed the practice of phallic worship with disdain and repulsion, saw them as outsiders, enemies.
Their practices were incompatible with Vedic beliefs, not just preference, a strong cultural and religious rejection.
And this provides a strong counter-argument to the idea that all ancient Indo-European fertility worship inherently revolved around phallic symbols.
Fundamentally challenges that assumption. Shows fertility symbolism could manifest diversely centered on the feminine, the earth, interconnectedness, rather than exclusively on male generative organs. Debunks the notion that phallic worship was universal or primary for PIE fertility rites.
So summing up, this deep dive has woven together extremely strong arguments against a purely or even primarily phallic origin or interpretation of the Maypole celebrations. The cumulative evidence is just compelling.
It really is.
We've seen the overwhelming presence of powerful female deities, Völva, Freya, Norns embodying creation, magic, destiny. We've presented the compelling alternative of the Maypole as a distaff symbol of feminine creation, weaving life.
We've explored the broad understanding of fertility beyond just male power, seen the balance in pagan worldviews.
We've examined the strategic Christian replacement of figures like Walpurga, a deliberate shift in spiritual authority. We've connected May Day back to the Earth Mother in Pai cosmology, the foundational female creator.
And crucially, we brought in the Rig Veda's explicit textual rejection of phallic worship from within a related Indo-European tradition, shattering the idea of its universality.
All of this offers a much richer and more balanced picture of ancient European Maypole celebrations, highlighting the profound, active role of the sacred feminine in bringing forth life, shaping destiny. It's just a far more empowering, historically accurate, and spiritually resonant narrative.
Absolutely, for a tradition that's endured so long.
Which brings us to a question for you, our listener, and for us. If May Day or May Eve don't fully capture this profound significance we've uncovered, what would be a more accurate, meaningful name? How can we better encapsulate its true essence today?
Yeah. What name truly reflects the multi-layered meaning, the profound symbolism, and the ancient roots we've explored? Moving beyond the simplistic, often misinformed modern takes.
Okay, so maybe something like the Generative Spring Festival, or Generative Rites of May, highlighting that core purpose, bringing forth new life, growth, abundance, encompassing that feminine creative force, the Earth's fertility bursting forth.
That works. Or another compelling option, directly speaking to our findings, the Life Weaving Festival, or Festival of the Woven Life.
Referencing the Norns, the Völva, the Maypole ribbons directly, evoking life as created, sustained through these intricate forces of destiny and nature.
And it powerfully counters the phallic interpretation, highlighting that central feminine creative act. We even found that real-world example, the Estonian Distaff dance for their Maypole dance, shows this insight isn't new, just perhaps rediscovered.
We also go for names like Ancient Spring of Life or Ancient Rites of Renewal, emphasizing those deep, pre-Christian Indo-European roots we traced, reminding us of its antiquity, the cyclical renewal after winter, connecting to the Earth Mother, nature awakening.
Good options, too. And maybe one more, very direct and evocative. The feminine bloom of May.
The feminine bloom of May, I like that. Highlights the sacred feminine aspect we found so central. Bloom, referring not just to nature blossoming,
But also subtly suggesting the flourishing of feminine power and influence that was so key in these ancient societies. These names offer a truly resonant, accurate way to describe this ancient, beautiful tradition.
We began this deep dive questioning a simple, almost dismissive explanation for beloved, enduring tradition. And what we found was this complex, fascinating web connecting ancient seeresses, cosmic goddesses, powerful symbolic tools.
We journeyed from archaeological digs, uncovering forgotten staffs, to the mythological realm of fate weavers.
To the pervasive cultural practices across Europe, all pointing towards this deeply feminine heart beating at the core of May Day.
So what stands out to you, listening, about how long a simple, maybe even derisive explanation can persist for centuries, overshadowing a much more nuanced, empowering truth?
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other familiar traditions, symbols might hold deeper, forgotten meanings? Just waiting for a deep dive to reveal their true origins, their complexities.
As you look around at the world, notice the threads. Perhaps you'll start to see that ancient, powerful, feminine principle of creation and destiny woven into more places than you ever imagined.
From the simplest folk tradition, perhaps, to the very fabric of the cosmos.